welcome to the QASA Q&A video. These questions were submitted by you, so we hope that you find our answers helpful. Make sure to follow us on our social media to keep up to date, and here's a message from our sponsor, DeskHouse.
Hi everybody, my name is James. I'm the Vice President of Venture Club, the company behind DeskHouse.
Hi, I'm Allie.
I'm John.
We're the community managers at DeskHouse, and we are here to bring Kingston its first ever study club for students.
With COVID-19 dramatically changing the outlook for the school year, have you thought about where you'll be productive? Coffee shops are closing physical seating, and library situations are really up in the air.
We've got you covered at DeskHouse. We have physical distancing measures built into our floor plan. We've got a state-of-the-art espresso bar with beverage credits, awesome meeting rooms, and we've got a committed staff for cleaning and sanitizing the space daily.
We've been working all summer to get this space ready for you, and we can't wait to meet you. We're open on September 1st. Come by for a tour or visit our website at deskhouse.ca.
So QASA is a club that supports and celebrates Asian culture. There will definitely be events despite COVID-19, and they will be running monthly online. Examples of events we have are noodle night, movie night, dumpling night, and these events are meant to be accessible to all of Queens. And the purpose of them is to give us an opportunity to connect with the community and to connect with you guys, especially you first years.
So first of all, get a planner and go through all your syllabi, write down every synchronous session and due date, and then schedule time for yourself to do readings and asynchronous lectures for every course. Having that structure and knowing what's coming up weeks 1 through 12 is even more important this year because online classes depend a lot on your organization and self-regulation. So be eager, stay on top of things, and check your On-Q and Queen's email frequently. And if you're able to, get a pair of blue light glasses to prevent eye strains and headaches. And to the best of your ability, make sure your computer desk chair setup is ergonomical and comfortable. And get a little bit of outdoor time every day. Screen burnout can take a toll on your health and productivity, so while you're crushing the semester, make sure to take care of yourself too.
I think the biggest challenge with online classes is that it really feels like you're learning on your own. So I think the first thing you should do, and what I typically do, is that I go on the must-knows for courses at Queen's Facebook group, and I try to find someone that's posting about creating a group chat, or I post on my own about creating a potential group chat for a specific course. I think these group chats are great because it allows you to collaborate with others within your class, but also ask questions and possibly create like a virtual study group during exam periods. I think another thing about online classes is that it really gives you flexibility of when you're doing schoolwork. This is great because you can do schoolwork at like any time of the day, but also it's bad because you really need like strong time management skills. So before things get hectic, I think you should find tools that will help you organize and create a schedule for yourself every single day. And for me, what I use is I create like a to-do list for like daily tasks, but also I have a calendar that has all my deadlines and due dates that helps me keep track of things that I have to do within the month.
My favorite memory at Queen's would be orientation week because that is where I met so many amazing people that have now become some of my closest friends.
So far, my best memory or experience at Queen's is definitely living in residence. I absolutely loved to meet more people from different faculties, different background, different culture, different countries on my floor, and I also met my best friend in first year. So please enjoy your year in residence if you are living in residence. And if you're not living in residence, don't worry, you will meet so many people in the next 4 years, and that's it.
So for time management, I like using an online planner, and that's because I'm forced to look at every single day. And then when I'm done things, I can just check it off, so it's very satisfying. Of course, you can use a physical planner as well. And for self-discipline, as hard as it sounds, learn to say no. But like now that it's COVID, we're forced to stay inside more than ever, so time to do schoolwork.
One tip that I have for improving time management is to just make sure that you're really organized, because I know that when you're scrambling to figure out due dates, or if you mix up due dates, or if you're bombarded with all these assignments at once, it can be really overwhelming and you feel like you have to pull an all-nighter to get things done. So I really recommend just staying on top of things, and specifically what's something that I find helpful is at the beginning of the year, lay out all your due dates and all your assignment dates and deadlines and put them into a calendar like Google Calendar, and you can color code for each course, and then from there you'll have it all laid out, and that way you know in advance when things are coming. And then also I like a daily to-do list in my planner, and that keeps me up to date. It keeps me aware of the things that I need to be doing, and by being really organized in that way, I find that it really helps me manage my time well.
Hi, it's Eileen, and I'm here to give you big sister advice on the question, have you experienced racism at Queens? How do you handle it? And is it as bad as the media makes it seem? So this is a loaded question. So I'll start with the first part. Have you experienced racism at Queens? Yes, throughout my years at Queens, I have experienced racism multiple times. I think the most memorable time for me though was when I was a frosh. I walked past this Halloween party and I saw fellow white students dressing up as different cultures and ethnicities. And this later made headlines and it was a big deal at the time. But what shocked me as a frosh was that other people were defending these actions, saying that, they're just having fun. You're too sensitive if you think this is offensive. So that was my encounter with racism. But I also feel like people have different stories and experiences when it comes to racism. Some people experience microaggressions, some people experience blatant racism, and other people don't experience these things at all. Or I feel like sometimes it's so subtle, it just goes unnoticed as well. So my answer to this question is it depends on who you ask. But if you do find yourself experiencing racism, hopefully the next part will be helpful to you, and that's how to handle it. Unfortunately, as people of color, we have to have these discussions. I think the most important thing you can do for yourself is to have a good support system, and maybe that's just having one or two people that can empathize with you and have these conversations with you. And if you don't have that in your life, you can always reach out to QASA. We're more than happy to listen to your stories and maybe provide guidance if you need it. And I feel like if this racism or racist behavior is coming from a peer, you should, if you have time and energy, you should consider talking to them about it. I feel like it's not an easy conversation, but it's a necessary conversation most of the time. And personally, I would suggest you approach this, with like a calling in and not calling out method. You should pull them aside and firmly but nicely tell them that what they did was hurtful or harmful to you or whoever it is. And hopefully they listen and respond well to what you have to say. And if they don't, if they say that you're too sensitive or they're really defensive and they don't even listen to you, my advice to you is you have to drop them. Or you don't have to, but you should. And the last part, is it as bad as the media makes it seem? Again, I feel like that depends on who you ask, but the fact that these things keep making headlines and keep happening, even if it doesn't happen to you personally, I think it just means that we as a community need to do better in raising awareness, and we can talk about these things more, and hopefully prevent them from happening to other people in the future. And yeah, hopefully we can all make positive change together.
Hey, I'm Esther, and I'm a part of the logistics pod. Just to answer your question, I do think during my time at Queens, I have experienced a fair share of microaggressions against Asian people. Just thinking back to my first year, a lot of people would talk about how our professors were hard to understand and that their accents were too thick, and some people even said that Queens shouldn't hire people who can't speak English properly. Despite the fact that these professors were very qualified and more than deserving to be here, people would say these comments on the daily, and it did take a toll on my mental health, but I like to cope with it by thinking to myself about how every single day there are people and clubs here that are trying to make Queens a welcoming, safe, and equitable place for people to study. Just going off of your question about the media, I do think to a degree they do portray the experience of Queens pretty accurately, but they also don't talk about how, like I said, there are students and clubs here that are trying to make it a more welcoming space and looking towards a more positive future. I hope that answers your question.
So what I suggest is firstly to, once you get your syllabuses for the classes, to write all of the important dates down in some type of planner. So either like an agenda, like a physical planner, or even like something online such as like Google Calendar. And then I would also suggest to join like messenger group chats, because a lot of the time stuff that you are struggling with content is also what other students are struggling with. So you guys can find like common interests and also like get help on assignments. And I would also want to give some advice out there, because I want to let you guys know that it's normal to struggle with academic expectations of university, but no, you're not alone in this, and many students are also struggling with the same topics. So yeah, that's my advice.
So 2 things I like to do to get prepared for my classes. One, I take notes on a tablet, so I love downloading my lecture notes beforehand, like the night before. I find I'm always scrambling in the mornings, and the lecture hall can have pretty spotty Wi-Fi, so downloading it right before the lecture isn't always reliable. My second tip would be to read the lecture slides and the textbook beforehand. I never found that this was important until this year. I find that profs can go pretty quickly, and it doesn't give you enough time to absorb that material in that 50-minute lecture. So something really great about reading the material beforehand is that it gives you more time to absorb and understand the material, and you don't show up to lecture feeling completely lost. In terms of staying organized, I love making checklists and schedules for myself. So I'll make a checklist for every day or every week, and I'll put what I need to do and when I need to do it. And I go through my day or my week checking off those things, and at the end of it I feel very accomplished, and it's definitely very satisfying to look at a completed checklist.
A place to study on campus would be the first floor of the Stauffer Library and the computer labs in Douglas Library. I like working alongside others as they keep me motivated and they stop me from procrastinating. But if you're not into studying in libraries, there are many other places on campus that are great for studying, such as Kogrow or the third floor of the Arc, as well as there are many empty classrooms and lecture halls that you can stop by and study in. Usually most of them would be free and available after 4 p.m. when classes are usually over. In terms of places outside of campus, coffee shops and cafes like Bozak's and Crave are great studying spots. However, spots fill up very quickly, so if you want to study in these places, make sure to get to them early.
Hello, in terms of my favorite study space on campus, it has to be Douglas Reading Room. It's on the top floor of the Douglas Library, and I found 2 pictures to show you guys. So this one is actually taken by myself in 33 weeks ago when preparing my final exams, and which says I love my beautiful school. And this one is actually from Vintage Kingston. It says Douglas Reading Room, Douglas Library, Queens 9032. It is just amazing to compare and see that our school has been existing for so long. And I understand this year is a difficult time for everyone, and the school has the potential to close the library for every student. So don't forget to check out the QASA social media account at queens.asa, because we are doing a collaboration work with organization called DeskHouse on Princess Street. which you can simply pay some money and rent your own desk on the space for yourself to study.
The answer is yes, a lot. So our downtown is just Princess Street basically, and there's so many Asian stores. So we have Seoul to Seoul, which is like a good Korean place. We have a lot of sushi. We got bubble tea. There's Cambodian, there's Thai, there's Indian. A lot of Asian places to eat at. As for groceries, I like BV Buy. It's a small Asian marketplace, and there's another one called KAS, K-A-S, and all these are just down Princess Street. So
there's actually a lot of Asian food in Kingston. In terms of grocery stores, I like going to BV Buy Asian Mart and Kingston Asian Super. I think primarily the products in these stores are Asian snacks, sauces, and other non-perishable goods. So if you're looking for more than that and you actually want to make like a meal, then I recommend bringing stuff from home. In terms of like restaurants, some of my favorite Asian restaurants in Kingston are Silverwalk, because it has authentic Chinese food. A lot of like the Chinese restaurants nearby, they're more designed for like a Western taste, but Silverwalk does a really good job with authentic Chinese dishes. In terms of sushi, I like going to Sima Sushi because they have really good lunch deals.
Hi, I'm Derek and I'm the Logs director for this year. Some of my favorite restaurants and drinks. For brunch, I'd say Northside. It's a very like trendy place, a little pricey, but it's great for like a date. Dinner, I'd say Wooden Heads, but don't order from the pizza menu. Their actual like regular menus, like probably the best food. Asian foods, I really like Sima for sushi and Potonamu for Korean food. Drinks, I'd say Brass. Brass is pretty good, and Alibi. And for cafes, go to Crave. Make sure you go to Crave. Go to Crave, guys.
Some of my favorite restaurants in Kingston are Mekong, which is a Vietnamese restaurant, and Thai House, which serves Thai cuisine. Some of my favorite cafes are definitely Crave, which is on downtown Princess Street. It's a very big and open space, so you can definitely physically distance from other people. And the Tea Room, which is actually in Beamish Monroe Hall, which is right here on campus.
It all depends on your current level of financial literacy as well as your spending habits. Acknowledging and taking the time to analyze your spending habits can prepare you for the task of saving money. I know that Queens provides workshops if you feel like your financial literacy is not the greatest. Additionally, you can always research that online. There's so much information, almost to the point of too much information. I know it can be overwhelming. Personally, how I started saving money was by opting for the alternative. And what I mean by that is making a list of things that you need to get. Say you're moving into residence and you need to get a shelf. You're always looking for what is most functional. It doesn't always have to be the most fancy thing, like that $99 shelf from IKEA. Or even looking onto other websites like Kijiji. This big mirror behind me I got off of Kijiji. Things like Facebook Marketplace, sometimes it can be cheaper. Just be aware. Another method I used to save money was to again, write down that list of things I need to get and then really scrutinize that list. Ask yourself, do I really need that? Do I see myself using that a lot in the future? It kind of coincides with the principles of minimalism, if you will, like where you don't buy what you don't need, and consider all your purchases more so as investments. And if you pay rent, you can also minimize your utilities, which would save you money. Little things that also are more environmentally friendly. Turning off the lights is a very obvious example. Another one is phantom energy use. So unplugging things when you don't use them can actually save you probably a smidge when it comes to money, but those are all things I have done personally to save money.
Whether it is hard is completely up to every individual. Every single person is coming from a different situation. We're even coming from different places as well. Our different financial situations and our spending habits are all going to be different. So that'll be subjective to every single person. But with that being said, university does come with a new set of expenses. So whether you are trying to get to Kingston, of course this year's a little bit different as well, kind of living a little more independently, also completely dependent on the individual and whether they are coming from somewhere outside of Kingston, as well class material, textbooks, access codes, even kits sometimes. So definitely keeping those expenses in mind and knowing what you have, that'll help you get what you need. Something that I've kind of done to save money is meal prepping. So for groceries, there's actually, I believe on Tuesdays, there are student discounts at certain places. Or maybe it's a different day, but you just show them the back of your student card and you get a certain percentage off on your purchase. So I usually try to make my groceries last a little bit longer by preparing on a Sunday and getting a bunch of Tupperware and sorting out different meals, just that so I'm not out buying food. As well, if I am out buying food, to set sort of a limit for myself, or not necessarily a limit, but giving myself a certain amount of money put on the side so that I can use that when I need it, and also so I'm not overspending and pacing myself throughout the year so that I'm not getting to the little bits of my bank account by the end of the year. The other tip I have is for textbooks or class material. I like to take a look on Facebook Marketplace. There's also Textbook Exchange 2.0, which is a group on Facebook that you can join. And in the bookstore, you can actually look for alternatives. And sometimes you'll find used books on different websites, and you might get them for cheaper.
Several places at Queens where you can work as a student, like the grocery checkout, PC&C, Co-Grow, and the tea room. As well, if you are qualified to become a fitness instructor or a dance teacher, you can apply through the ARC. And you can also apply to become a TA. Usually they hire students between the 3rd and 4th year. So if you are interested and you did well in a course, it's a great way to make extra money. In terms of working as a student off of campus, many restaurants along Princess hire students throughout the year. I worked at Sushi Bardal last year, and they're very accommodating to my school schedule. I worked around 3 times a week, and each shift is about 5 to 6 hours. Experience is not necessary, but it is recommended.
So basically there are a couple ways that you can get internships while here at Queens. The 2 main ways that I find are through the Queens Job Board and the Quick Internship Program. The Job Board is basically available to all students and faculties and has different positions and opportunities, whether it be internships or full-time offers or volunteer work, and is regularly updated every single day with new opportunities. As for Quick, it's basically the Queen's University Internship Program, which basically places you on a 12 to 16th month paid internship for a semester and a half or 12 months, depending on what you choose. You do have to apply for this program and get accepted into it, but the requirements aren't that bad, so it's fairly simple. You could also reach out to your profs and academic advisors for advice or recommendations, and depending on what faculty you're in, you may have specific postings on your faculty site. I hope that answered your question, and good luck.
I actually grew up in Kingston, so I've been surrounded by the Caucasian majority for pretty much my whole life. And so I've been accustomed to this community, and my journey was actually reversed, where I started making more Asian friends here. I guess I was always comfortable with my Asian roots, but I never really had the chance to explore it here earlier on. And it wasn't until third year that I got the opportunity to through QASA. But during my time in Kingston, I never felt like I had to pick one culture over the other, or there was like significant conflicting priorities. And I think that was just mainly because I had a good support network of friends. And I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, Queens had some news that broke out this year, and I'm sure some of the first years are probably not feeling the most comfortable with the environment. But I will say that a lot of the Queens students that at least I've interacted with are very open and very understanding, and just surrounding yourself with good people, and I think you'll be perfectly fine here.
I've been at Queens for a little over 2 years now, and I'm really grateful to be able to call it home and to have the friends, family, and support system that I have. But I know that fitting in here at Queens without being whitewashed can be a difficult equilibrium. In my time here, I've found that speaking my language and hearing other people speak it is what really makes me feel at home. So I listen to Chinese music, watch Chinese shows and movies, and talk to my family and some of my friends in Chinese when I can. It used to bother me if people oversaw or overheard, but it doesn't anymore, and I think that's a really big step in me being comfortable expressing my cultural identity here at Queens. Another thing I learned is that I don't have to divide myself in half, where half of me is a student who can engage with the community here, and half of me is someone who is proud of and attached to her Chinese heritage. I'm both, and both are equally whole at the same time. So if you're trying to reconcile between fitting in at Queens and staying true to your Asian roots, I hope keeping that in mind will help you like it helps me.
So personally, I like to make Asian food at home to celebrate traditions. I like to make dumplings, green onion pancakes, maybe some fried rice, and you can always source Asian ingredients from local Asian grocery stores near campus. But if cooking's not for you, you don't have time or you can't for some reason, you can always, grab a few friends and watch some Korean drama or maybe some Asian movies of your choice. Or you can always support Asian businesses by ordering some takeout and having like a fun takeout movie night maybe. These are just little things, but it is the little things that keeps us connected to our culture throughout the year, I think. And QASA does celebrate Asian traditions throughout the year as well. In the past, we would host a semi-formal Lunar New Year event featuring performances and food, but obviously this year with the COVID-19 situation, we're not sure how that's gonna go, but we'll keep you guys updated. And we're also looking to have some interactive cooking events where we teach you guys how to make good Asian food at home. So if you're interested, stay tuned, and yeah, hopefully that'll be up soon.
So yes, you can join more than one club at Queens. You can join as many as you want, as long as you think that you'll be able to handle it with your school workload. So an easy way to get involved in clubs is to just look at the different resources available. So especially for Frosh, there's Queens in the Park, which this year is in the form of a catalog, and there's also the Tricolor Open House, which I think is just like a virtual online event, and those are both ways you can talk to people and learn more about clubs, what they're about, and how you can get involved. They'll typically offer their contact information, and you can provide your own and get in touch with people if that's one way you want to get involved. And then additionally, one thing that I did was I looked on the AMS website, and they have a section for clubs at Queens, and you can go onto there and you just learn about the different purposes of each club and their goals, and if those align with your own, or if you're interested in joining, there's typically a contact, like an email that you can reach out to and go from there. So it's super simple. I know it seems overwhelming because there's so many clubs at Queens, but just stick to what you think you'd be interested in, and don't be afraid to reach out.
I think clubs are a huge part of your Queens experience, and I definitely recommend you go out and try at least one during your time here. As for how many you can join, there's no real limit to how many you can really participate in, but depending on your club and position, it may take a considerable amount of time, so it really depends on your schedule and your willingness to put in time for that position. Having said that, I think it's definitely worth it. In my experience, I've met some of my closest friends in clubs, and I've gotten interviews and job offers just based on some of the positions I've held. As for finding clubs, you can look on the AMS website to find any clubs that pique your interest, or if you can't find anything, you can always create your own as well.
One tip is to not put too much pressure on yourself. That's something that I did a lot in high school, and when I came to university, I was so obsessed with getting perfect grades, and while perfect grades are great, it's not ideal if you're sacrificing your mental health or your social life for it. So it's a balancing game, really, to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, but also tending to your schoolwork as well. In terms of social life and working out, I like to combine those two. So when I go work out, I'll work out with my friends, so that way I can hang out with my friends and have fun with them, but also get my daily workout in.
With balance, the first thing that you want to make sure you are taking care of is yourself, because a lot of the time we kind of go into everything thinking, okay, we need to balance everything, we need to get everything in, get all our workouts in, hang out with all our friends, do all our work, do all our readings, and eventually you will burn yourself out. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself. With balance, I would say one of the biggest tips I have is scheduling, and scheduling in when it's kind of you time, when you're hanging out with your friends, when you've got a class, when you have to study for a test, scheduling in little blocks so you know to give yourself time during that day. Another thing is to break down your assignments and your academic stuff into little steps. So if it's a big assignment, try to break it up into chunks, try to get so for example, like an essay assignment or a research kind of paper, get your rough draft, just get started with like a rough list of ideas on like day 1, day 2, start writing your rough copy, day 3, refine your rough copy, day 4, edit, and just try to break up big assignments into smaller steps so they are more manageable and they don't seem so daunting. And reward yourself after your achievements, because positive reinforcement. As for socials, I actually found I liked to kind of do this 2-in-1 sort of thing. So what I mean is I'll try to find a workout buddy, and me and my friend will hang out and we'll work out, and then we'll also make breakfast together, or we'll do a study session together, and then we'll watch a movie afterwards. I know this year with everything being online, it's a little bit more difficult to kind of see your friends. What me and my friends have been doing is actually on Friday nights we do a little Netflix party, and then we watch Netflix together as just a way to wind down, and just scheduling that in and making it a tradition every week helps a lot. As well, making routines and creating habits that'll help in the long run. Alrighty, I hope you have an awesome year. Good luck.
QASA encourages everyone to join. If you're interested in joining our exec team, QASA usually hires in September and again in March and April. So check out our social media for any information about hiring positions and the application process. In terms of our events and our projects, again, follow us on social media, and that's where we'll post about what QASA is up to, and feel free to join any and all events and projects that interest you.